Hi, everyone. Welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes, and it's me. Yes, it's you and me, everyone out there. So it's a wonderful opportunity for us to talk, to have some conversation of sorts, and also to find out what's on your mind. And we'll be talking news, of course, from the What You Need to Know newsletter to stories that have just come down. And there's some interesting stories that have just come down. Also, kind of watching you as well as watching what's going on in New York at the U.S. Open. Venus and Serena doubles play taking place tonight. First of all, it's you, me, and Yolanda. And, if you have things that you want to talk about or questions that you have for me, we will entertain those throughout the show. And just an opportunity for us to hear from you as well. We did have guests scheduled, and of course, things happen. My friends George Wallace and Myra J. and J. Anthony Brown are all in Birmingham. They are getting ready for a big weekend there at the Stardome, and so George was not able to join us today, but we will be talking about their show in a little bit, and I hope that people who are in the Birmingham area can possibly get over there to see them Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, or maybe all 3 days. I don't know. Um, One other thing that I do want, and I know I'm doing that, and I can't hear what I'm doing, so I apologize if it's annoying. One thing I do want to say is that a very dear friend of mine texted me tonight, and we are not texters, so it was difficult for her to talk about it. But my friend Dana Shelley lost her husband this week, and Bob, and after a battle with cancer. So I just want to send you my love, Dana, and my prayers for you and for Bob's safe journey. He is or was a veteran, and he will be buried in Arlington National Cemetery. And thank you, Bob, for your service, and thank you for loving my friend the way that you did. And you will be missed. All right. So let us move to the What You Need to Know newsletter. This, should I tell you, is our this is our opportunity to super serve the African American community with our newsletter, What You Need to Know. And it was started at the just before the end of the Tom Jordan Morning Show, and giving us an opportunity to extend our service as far as news gathering was concerned, and especially those stories that appeal, apply, and make a difference in our community. And that's what we try to do, from politics to COVID updates, as well as social justice, LGBTQ plus events and stories. And there's some consumer stories and the health and wellness in Black and fitness. And of course, the HBCU corner and the little known Black history fact, things that you came to know on the Joyner Show. We have continued here. It's absolutely free. And if you'd like to subscribe, we ask that you simply go to sybilwilkes.com and give us your name and your email address, and we'll have it in your email box every Monday through Friday morning. So let's talk about this. I know. Okay, so tell me this, and this will give me a really good guide, because I am day to night watching what's going on regarding the former president, the search and seizure of Mar-a-Lago, the classified documents that he allegedly declassified, but now he's saying, no, they were just mine. There was no declassification. That's what his lawyers are saying now. But this is the latest, because the Justice Department is pushing back on Donald Trump, saying all these things you're saying, they're not true. You did not give us everything that you were supposed to return. You did not hand over to the National Archives. And that's why the National Archives came to us and said, there's something going on here. We haven't gotten everything, as well as some of the things we've gotten, he shouldn't have. And so they allegedly said, well, we gave you everything in June, and that wasn't true. And that's why the search happened in August. That's why they went in on August 8th. And for a day-long adventure, the FBI went in and found things that should not have been in Donald Trump's property. And the way they were spread out, and some were in his desk, some were in a storage room, and it's crazy. And the story gets crazier and crazier as he tries to defend himself and say and hype other people up, hype his people up, and say that, we need to be defunding the FBI. And then that makes his people think, well, defunding, we should also try to injure them and bring harm to them. So all of these things are working at the same time. That's why I'm fascinated, because this is something that's never happened in this country. Even Richard Nixon knew, had the presence of mind and listened to others when they said, it's time for you to go. What you did was wrong. You cannot, as an American president, you cannot keep going this way. And so he conceded, and it was 1974 when he resigned, August of 1974. Here we are, August, now September of 2020, many, many, many years later. And we have a former president who is just doing things in a way that's never been done before, at least in a democracy. And that's the key. And that's also something that we should talk about, is because that's what President Biden is going to be talking about in his speech to the nation tonight. And he's going to be outside Independence Hall in Philadelphia in a short period of time, maybe about 50 minutes from now, talking about how he is fighting for the soul of this nation. Contrary to the MAGA Republicans led by Donald Trump and others. So the Justice Department pushed back, and then they told people in another briefing, a filing, that here's what we found, and it was all of these top secret documents that he was not returning. He did not return, promised to, or said they had already, and it was a lie. And so this is our first story in the newsletter, saying that the Justice Department is pushing back against the Donald Trump claims about the Mar-a-Lago search. In the meantime, this property, this master, I was going to say slave master, isn't that awful? The master that they were asking for a judge to appoint to look over these documents, and the Justice Department said, this is just another ploy for you to delay things, because we've already looked at these things. And some of the things that we looked at were such a high level of security and classification that the people who were of the Justice Department and the FBI, who had pretty high security clearance, they had to go and get additional clearance. That's how high and how secure some of these documents still in the hands of Donald Trump were, and kind of spread out, and no real security, because anybody was able to come and go. And in this room where they had things, or in his desk, we've already heard of people, including some people from the Chinese government, who've been found on his property. And so no telling who came in for a bar mitzvah or whatever, and he said, come on in. And they got to look at some of these documents. He brought them into his office, and they may have seen it. Who knows? So that's the first story talking about this. And let me know if this is of interest to you, because it fascinates me. And I still think that we need to know what's going on and not just rely upon people. Let's see what we got here. Thank you, Yolanda. And Brenda McCutcheon on Facebook said, same thing DT did as a businessman, he did as a president: lie, cheat, and steal. But they don't want to bring charges so close to the election. WTF. It's not just they, it's really the head of the Justice Department. And for whatever reason, Merrick Garland is being very, very measured in his movements. And so it is kind of a strange thing for him to move quickly as they need to. But I'm with you, Brenda. I would like for them to see them bring charges, but I don't think that they will. What's stopping him? to show it to more people. Nothing, Tyrone Bourne says on Facebook, nothing was stopping him. Absolutely nothing. He could have, and we don't know. We don't know what who saw all these documents. We have no idea, because unless we're looking at some of the video of people's comings and goings there at Mar-a-Lago, we don't know. Yolanda, I think you had another person up there. He Z Walker on Facebook says he makes Tricky Dick look like an angel. You sound like my mother and my grandmother having these conversations. My grandmother was a Republican, and my mother was not. And the fights they used to get in over Richard Nixon, or as they called him, Tricky Dick. What if he's elected again? Brenda McCutcheon. Eileen Littlejohn texted me today and talking about this. And you know what? We got to pray. We really do have to pray that charges are brought against him, and so that he is not able to run, because he'll have other things to worry about in terms of his innocence and fighting for his innocence. But if he is able to run, that takes us to a whole nother level of involvement and of getting people to register and to vote. Barbara Ferguson on YouTube says, I've been praying to God to do something, and he has. God is so good. He is good and will continue to be good. And we have to be faithful and observant servants in doing the right thing as well. I'm telling you, I know I've said this over and over again, and I don't think that people are taking seriously enough, those of who say this really is the most important election. And we are just less than 10 weeks out from the midterm elections, November 8th. Today is the 1st of September, so we're looking at about 9.5 weeks. And it's so incumbent. And two other things that have come about as a result of really encouraging people to get involved. First of all, the special elections that have been held, the one that was held in New York, in which a Democrat won a congressional seat for just a short period of time, but won a congressional seat representing New York, and it's kind of a swing district. And so this happened last week, and then last night it was announced that for the very first time in over 40 years, there has been a Democrat elected to the only congressional seat representing the state of Alaska. And this woman, who is a native Alaskan, beat Sarah Palin. So you have a Democrat, another Democratic seat, which was previously for the last 40, 50 years, was held by Republicans. And yes, as somebody noted, it's only until November, because she's going to have to run again, because it's for this short period of time to fill the seat of Don Young, who was killed or who died. And so what's really important, though, is that we take these moments of victory and move them forward and make it count into the next election, right? So those are two things that we need to talk about. Renee Woodridge, it's frightening. I read a lot about, I read a lot about the rise of Hitler, and Donald Trump's actions are very similar. Absolutely. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And the comparisons seem to be apt for most people who do their history and know their history and read it and continue to stay on top of it. Absolutely correct. There is something to be said for that. Karen Allen says it is being reported the FBI is searching a Russian spy at Fisher Island today. Yeah. And it's related to documents that the Donald has. Karen said that on YouTube. And that was one of the stories that came out today, alleging, and I'm not sure, Karen, if it's a story that Donald Trump is alleging or if it is something the U.S. government is looking into, because Donald Trump, whatever his relationship is with Vladimir Putin, we don't know. There's so much to this story. It's kind of overwhelming sometimes, and you just kind of push back and take a break from all of this. But I promise you, it's gonna be good. Regina Glover says, I'm trying to understand why in the world Trump gets to have a say in requesting a special appointment to review those boxes. The special master, right? Your guess is as good as mine. Why? What gives him the to say, I want a special master. And the fact that it's probably not going to happen the way that he wants it to happen was evidenced today by the judge, who is a Trump appointee, the woman in Florida who was supposed to make a decision about this special master. She didn't come out right out and say it. She was going to write it and deliver it later on in the day. So that does not bode well for Mr. Trump and his request for the special master, in addition to the other things that the Justice Department is coming out and saying. So I have no life, and it's fascinating to me. And it's also maddening. It's also very maddening, but it pushes me to encourage people to get involved in the process even more. I'm wondering, and if you all will share with me, are you planning to watch The President? Does it matter, or are you going to watch Venus and Serena in their doubles play tonight, or some other thing on your DVR that you got to clear off, like Yolanda Starks White? Also want to talk about some other stories that we have. This is fascinating. This is from our own Coy Malone, and she wrote a story about a federal jury awarding $100 million to an Atlanta panhandler who was paralyzed by police. So check this out. This $100 million was awarded to the Black man whose name is Jerry Blasingame. He fell and broke his neck after a policeman used a taser during a foot chase. The 69-year-old Black man was panhandling in 2018 when the policeman stepped out of his patrol car and told him to stop. The attorney said he got out of the car, started chasing my client, the 65-year-old man, and for what? For potentially asking people for money. We've all seen this, right? And so as a result of his chasing this man, and the man tripped, fell, and broke his spine. And now he's been paralyzed, requires round-the-clock care that cost about $1 million a year, and has $14 million in medical bills thus far. So the conservator sued the city of Atlanta and the policeman, and the jury found that he did use unreasonable force. They also found the Atlanta Police Department should pay $60 million, while the policeman should pay $40 million. Where that 40 mil is going to come from an Atlanta policeman, but it's interesting. We know Atlanta's got it, but what about this policeman? And it's not coming from the police union for sure. So he has been awarded this. How this will all play out will be interesting. But as somebody who has already had $14 million in medical costs, and it will cost him $1 million a year to maintain his current status of health as a paralyzed man, it's going to be interesting to see what goes on there. And lastly, I do want to talk about, I love this story. Our health and wellness person agreed with me. And this is something that I want. School lunch ideas for pint-sized vegetarians. If you're a vegetarian and you have a kid and they're going back to school, there are these different food suggestions that are made regarding what you put in your kids' lunch boxes and bags if they're not getting lunch at school. Instead of the traditional ham and turkey, they say explore the ever-growing number of vegan and vegetarian options that are out there. Tofurkey, that's the name of the company. Tofurkey makes sliced plant-based turkey in varieties in oven roasted and hickory smoked. Light Life makes turkey, quotes, and also plant-based ham and bologna. So you can recreate some of the classic combos. And Unreal Deli makes faux corned beef. Okay, that's where I draw the line, faux corned beef. But interesting nonetheless. And I would love to have somebody make me those Lunchables with good things in it because I have a difficulty in feeding myself every day. All right, so here we go. That's what's in our newsletter. And also want you to take a look at the other stories that are going on there. Fisk University is getting a new president, and also the little known Black history fact, as well as we will tell you a little bit later what is in the daily inspiration. So this is going to be an open lines of sorts, a continuation of what we started. Whatever is on your mind, things that you want to talk about, you want to have your opportunity to have your say, things that you're thinking about, get on there and let's talk, as it were, you and me, with the help of Yolanda Starks White, to get these messages from you to me, and then we'll go on. So as I mentioned, this whole politics thing that's really, that's part of my language. My interest in it goes back a long ways, and I'm really quite fascinated in not only what's going to happen with Donald Trump, but just I'm feeling it, and people are saying that I'm being ridiculous for feeling optimistic about what's going to happen, contrary to what happens as a rule in midterm elections, and that is whatever party is in power in the White House, running who's in charge of the Senate or the House, that party, and right now it is the Democrats, generally, for however many years it's been, with very few exceptions, that party will lose control of the House and Senate. And there were big hopes amongst the Republicans that that would happen this time. But wouldn't you know, Roe versus Wade, Donald Trump's behavior, the abortion thing in Kansas, showing people that you can make a difference in what's in your Constitution, as well as some of the Republicans that are still drinking the Trump juice, is making a lot of people think, I don't want to put them in power, and even the people that are in charge, they're not happy with um, uh, the head of the Senate. They're not the Republican head of the Senate, the minority leader, and they're not happy with the minority leader in the U.S. House either. So um, that's where I am, and living in the state of Texas. With Greg Abbott running for governor for reelection, and he is continuing his devilish ways, and now my hometown of Chicago is affected by his plan, in which he has sent a lot of the immigrants coming into the state of Texas. He puts them on a bus and sends them to other parts of the country, and especially those cities that are democratically controlled by Democratic mayors. So he's done it to Washington, D.C., he's done it to New York, and yesterday the first busload of people landed in Chicago. And this is very interesting for my fellow Chicagoans. But according to the mayor, Lori Lightfoot, she's ready. They were ready for this, and so they are going to put these people in the process of finding them places to live, at temporary as well as long-term housing, jobs, and things like that, and so that they can adapt. And if they have relatives in Illinois, they will move them closer to those relatives if that's what they want, and keep it moving, and not let Greg Abbott try to trip people up. So we'll see what happens there. And if there's anything you want to talk about that, or it doesn't have to be politics. It really doesn't. We can talk, because my friends and I spent most of our texting time last night talking about Serena Williams, and was her mama awake during that particular match last night? Don't know. But Threader Wilson says, let's talk about Chris Rock's recent remarks about not returning to the Oscars, equating it to Nicole Brown Simpson returning to the scene of the crime. Not funny at all. I agree with you, Threader. She says that on Facebook. That was a question that we had for Damon Williams the other day, because comedians, they've just got a different way of thinking about things. And Chris equated because somebody asked him, would you go back to the Oscars next year? Because there's been talk about him hosting the Oscars next year, or would he go back, period, to perhaps, do something, but just return to the Oscars after the slap. And so he said, asking me to return to the Oscars is like asking Nicole Brown Simpson if she would go back to the restaurant where she had dinner the night that she was killed. And somebody responded, there's a gentleman, I want to say Brian, said, that's an OJ joke. Just get over it. But it wasn't an OJ joke. It was something that points to a problem a lot of people have with Chris, and that's his misogynism and the way that he looks and speaks about women, and especially the family of Nicole Brown Simpson not happy about this. So I agree with you. I don't think it was funny at all. I think that it was and it was during his act. So I don't think that it was something like somebody just shouted out the question, "Hey Chris, will you go back?" This was a part of his act that when he was on stage, I believe in Arizona over the weekend. So no, I don't think that it was funny, and I think that it was poorly timed. Regina Glover on Facebook said Chris should have just kept his mouth shut and continued to let people feel sorry that he was slapped. And I don't know what provoked him, but Arthretta said exactly, he is a bully. And I think that's true for a lot of comedians. Not all of them are as kind and sensitive as our Damon Williams is, and understands how to craft a joke. And Dora Levitt says he has no filter, and that might be a part of, because he has some sort of I can't remember, but there's something that he has that he has a very he's not on the spectrum. He's not autistic or anything like that, but his relationships with people and the way that he addresses them or he accepts things from people is just a little off balance. And so that, on top of being probably a comedian who lives alone and doesn't have a lot of contact with people, I heard someone say that he has not learned his lesson. Renita Bland says that's why he was slapped in the first place. Well, I'm not, and here's the thing, Renita, I'm not sure that he's learned his lesson either, and I'm not sure that he ever will. By the same token, I think that the comments that were made about Lizzo by Arie Spears, that was something else too that we just don't think about it. And it's like I always say, and I always hold on to that, Yolanda, for me. It's like I always say when I talk about people taking a beat before they respond, instead of just running off half-cocked, as they say, which sounds painful. It is an opportunity for people to take a beat and to think about it, or say, I got nothing for you right now. Just admit that what you need to think this through a little bit better. And there was a movie that Will Smith and his son Jaden were in, not The Pursuit of Happiness. It was the space movie. I think it was called After Earth. And Will Smith was telling his son Jaden, when you're in doubt, take a knee. And that, in other words, take a second, take a beat, don't respond right away. And I think that would have behooved Will that night at the Oscars. It would have behooved Chris in response in some of these things that have come out since. And the joke that he made about Jada, if he had just taken a beat, said, that might not be a good joke to make about her. So, because apparently, depending on who you ask, he knew about her situation. All right. So, Yolanda, can we have those other texts that have come in? Dora Levitt says he's just like the person we've been talking about all evening, and we always give him excuses. We have to have people own their BS. Regina says on Facebook, Nicole Brown's family should show up to all of his shows holding their Jaws as a reenactment to him being slapped. That's funny. That's funny. But that sounds like something that Trump tried to do. Remember when he tried to do that during the debates and have some of Bill Clinton's exes, the women that he is alleged to have slept with, be in the front row of the debate to try to throw Hillary off? Speaking of debates, this is going around now, a snippet of the debate, the first the first campaign between Stacey Abrams and Brian Kemp for governor. So back 2018, and this was from public television in Georgia. And so one part of the debate was the candidates. There were three of them. It was Stacey Abrams, it was Brian Kemp, and I can't remember the third candidate's name, but they were all able to ask each other questions. And Brian Kemp, trying to be the little smartass, he said to Stacey Abrams, "Why are you allowing illegals, immigrants to vote? Why do you want to, and why are you pushing for them to vote?" And she turned that on him and how she worked so hard. And when I tell you, talking about 800,000 people that she registered to vote, and how he, in his own way, tried to overturn the voting of people, the voting rights of people in the state of Georgia, which ultimately affected their race. She stopped him dead in his tracks. So this is a great reminder of what this race was before and what it is now, and how the difference can be made in that gubernatorial race, as well as the gubernatorial race in Texas and all the others, where a lot of these smart alecky Republicans, are trying to take on the Democrats. And Stacey Abrams, she don't play. She's not good. She didn't play then. She ain't playing his little reindeer games now. And if you haven't seen it, everybody's sending it around right now. This is from the 2018, and they are debating. Stacey Abrams and Brian Kemp are debating twice.
Sybil, why don't you put it on your Instagram so people can go to your Instagram and see it?
Thank you, Yolanda. I will do that. I was going to ask somebody to do that for me, but I will.
Okay, so we'll make that happen for you.
I had a hard enough time at about 4:00 this morning putting up about the woman that won in Alaska and something about Serena from the night before. So if somebody will help me with that,
we'll help you do that.
a repost, yeah. But I do want that. Absolutely. Brian, there you are. Let's talk about the great job. Yes. Jackson, Mississippi Mayor Lumumba is handling their current crisis. Brian, I'm so glad. Thank you so much. I am too. And I don't know if you've seen interviews of him over the last couple of days since the flooding, and he was there to tell people to get out to avoid the flooding. But then it wasn't as bad. But he has been there and telling people for the last 30 days about this boil water directive. And this is not new in the state of Mississippi, in the city of Jackson. And Mayor Lumumba is a dynamic young man. He really is. And he's cute too, but he's very dynamic, and he is very driven. And he's like, we can't take responsibility for this. We've known this. And the state is not taking responsibility for it. They've known this, and they know what they have to do. And Tate Reeves is the governor of Mississippi. And, he's like, oh, don't drink the water. And today they're telling people, yeah, you can turn the water on. We're getting through this. But when you do turn the water on, you get in the shower, don't open your mouth. What is that? And the president knows they're sending money. They're sending people to help them. But I'm telling you, look at the rotting fish. That is the state government of Mississippi. And why aren't they doing this for the people of Jackson? Because that is a city that's 80% Black. I don't care. Yep, race card. I'm calling it. I'm playing it right now. And Mayor Lumumba is Chakwe Antar Lumumba. Say that 3 times fast. But he is letting people and putting people on notice that he is doing all he can with what he has, the resources that he has. But it really is a state responsibility and the federal government responsibility. And Tate Reeves doesn't give a damn. Just like Kanye said about George Bush, I don't know. But I'm thinking he doesn't care about that. The state capital, but it's 80% Black. And so as a result, Mississippi is only glad for being on the forefront of denying abortions, because it was the Jackson Medical Center that the Dobbs versus that started the case that went before the Supreme Court that led to the overturn of Roe versus Wade. That's all they're concerned about, is patting themselves on the back for that. But they're not concerned about the welfare. And if you saw maybe a half dozen women who are, with their babies in their arms, who are pregnant, and older people, and saying, this is nothing new for us. But I got to tell you, this is something that has to be done. And Brian, thank you for bringing that up. And I don't want him to leave Jackson, because they need his leadership, Mayor Lumumba. But I would like to see him go on and to do some other things. Maybe, and I'm not pushing him out of office yet, because I am a big Benny Thompson fan. But maybe when Benny Thompson, or maybe this will be the impetus to get Carl Lumumba, Chakwe Lumumba, up to run against Tate Reeves for governor of Mississippi. Thread Wilson on Facebook says Mississippi got $4.5 billion from the infrastructure bill, $3.5 billion, $3.3 billion for water lines, clean water. Yet there's no clean drinking water. What happens to that money? Make this make sense. And that is the question that people are asking the governor. If you got this money, and it's probably unfairly, but it's probably the lowest amount of money for a state regarding the infrastructure bill. But it is also but whatever they got, it's not going to this. And it's been going on long enough. Even before the infrastructure bill, they should have been working towards this, right? This should have been a priority. But why? I think so. I think that's what I'm talking about. All right. If you got any other questions, anything else you want to talk before we move on to some of the latest news that's been coming out this afternoon into the evening. Yolanda, do we have any other questions or anything else we want to address before? Or we can keep going, because during these trending topics, I think that we'll have time for that as well. All right. So let's talk trending topics. And as I mentioned, George Wallace is busy selling a show and couldn't join us today, as well as J. Anthony Brown. But Jay wasn't selling the shows, just Jay. But Myra J. Anthony Brown, and George Wallace are on stage. They're taking their comedy geniuses to Birmingham this weekend. 1 show Friday, 2 shows Saturday, and 1 show on Sunday. So if you are there, please go and see them. And it will take you back to a fun time. I think people who have seen it thus far, who have seen the show, will agree that it takes you back to a fun time from the Tom Jordan Morning Show. And it was a great time to see them. People who've seen it in Atlanta, that's where I saw it, with their debut there. And folks who saw it at Damon's Club at Riddles outside of Chicago agree. All right. So the CDC panel has cleared the way for new COVID boosters for all Americans over the age of 12. I'm asking you, are you getting the new booster? I've held off getting the booster, honestly. I was waiting because of these new variants, and the doctors kept saying, no, go get the booster, go get the booster. And I am going out of the country in a couple of months. And so I said, well, wait closer till I go out of the country. Well, now these boosters is because they looking for, the updated boosters. The Federal Advisory Panel voted 13-1 Who was that one and what did he know? To recommend the boosters today after members spent more than 6 hours reviewing the data on the current state of the pandemic and the new shots. Dr. Rochelle Walensky, director of the Centers for Disease Control, is expected to sign off. The new boosters from Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna, I'm a Moderna girl myself, target both the original virus and the most recent variants called BA4 and BA5, which now dominate both the US and the world. Pfizer BioNTech shots will be available to anyone 12 and older, and Moderna's will be for adults 18 and older. So I guess I can go, and as soon as they start rolling them out, which will be, they say, quite quickly after the green light is given. The CDC has passed the torch now, and so we'll see what happens with the CDC and Dr. Rochelle Walensky, the director of the CDC. Are y'all going to get it? Let me know. This is really interesting. This came out today, and this is about the governor of New Mexico committing $10 million to build a new abortion clinic near the Texas border. Of course, everyone in Texas knows that getting an abortion is damn near impossible. The 6-week rule and all of that. So this is a woman, the Democratic governor, New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, signed an executive order committing $10 million to build a new reproductive health care clinic near the state's border with Texas. I love this. It's set to be located in Doña Ana County, which is just northwest of El Paso, and will offer full spectrum of reproductive health care, including abortion. So whatever you think about abortion, wherever you stand on it, I'm for a choice and giving people a choice. And judgment about, whatever else, I believe in giving people just the same way they give people the opportunity to own their guns. We should give women and men the opportunity to make choices about their bodies and their families. And so the difficulty in a lot of these states that have now denied abortions is providing transportation for them. But by being right there on the border of Texas, if people can just get to the border, if Texas women and men who are there to support them just can get to the border for reproductive care, then that is genius. And I wish they would do that around the state of Texas. Although you can't do that because Oklahoma is on the same page. But I think if people would do that in the states that do offer these services, coming closer and closer, providing facilities closer to those states where they don't, I love this. And I think Governor Lujan Grisham, kudos to you. And she was one of those women who was on the list for President Biden when he was considering a running mate. And she's showing why she was, because I think that's pretty progressive thinking. And I like the idea of that. All right. Next story. This is about January 6th, the story that will not go away. A retired New York police officer has been sentenced for his part in the January 6th attack. He's a retired NYPD officer, sentenced to 10 years in prison. 10 years, that's the most so far, for attacking the U.S. Capitol and using the metal flagpole to assault one of his own, a police officer, on January 6th, as they were trying to hold off the mob. Video, and if you look at the videos and the still photos, Metropolitan Police body-worn camera video shows this man by the name of Thomas Webster in a red jacket and a barricade at the line there in front of the U.S. Capitol, and you see him with the pole in his hand. His prison sentence is the longest so far among the roughly 250 people who have been punished for their conduct on that day. Others were sentenced separately to 7 years and 3 months in prison. Webster, a 20-year NYPD veteran, was the first Capitol riot defendant to be tried on assault charges, defending himself when he attacked the Metropolitan Police Department officer Noah Rathburn, grabbed his gas mask outside of the Capitol, and used this metal pole, to attack him. The judge sentenced him to 10 years plus 3 years of supervised release, noting that along with Officer Rathburn, the other victim was democracy. And that is the key to what Donald Trump has been trying to do all along, is to take away the democracy, to rid this country of democracy. And as President Biden says, bring us towards a new type of fascism that exists in Donald Trump world. So he has been sentenced. All right. So anybody watching Serena and her trek through, well, the numbers indicate that we are all watching. Some of the best numbers for the first day comparing it to last year, 2021, the first night. There was no Serena there. And the numbers that ESPN got were just through the roof. And was it 23 million? Something like that. No, it wasn't quite that high. It was like 2.7 million, but it was more than they had ever had. And then I haven't seen the numbers on last night when she made it through round 2. But she has really given a lot of love to her friendship with Tiger Woods for encouraging her to go forward in at least this last hurrah of the U.S. Open. After her victory last night, she thanked her friend Tiger, who says that, and you saw him in the family box with Venus and a sleeping Mrs. Williams. Kidding. She said, we talked a lot. He was really trying to get me motivated. And she said, I didn't know what to do. I was just feeling so lost, so many questions. And when you can rely on someone like that, my goodness, he's Tiger Woods. She said she didn't know. She was telling him, I don't know what to do. I think I'm over it, but I'm not over tennis. And he told her, just take a little time and, just go out and practice. And maybe you'll find, because she had been away from it for a while, and he just encouraged her to take the time and to figure out, maybe picking up the racket would inspire her again. And she said that's what had happened. And she said, that's why she didn't call it retirement, because maybe this will push her forward to doing something in the long run, and not just stop here at the U.S. Open. But she said, he was adamant to be a beast the same way he is. He said, what if you just gave it 2 weeks? You don't have to commit to anything. Just go out on the court every day for 2 weeks and give it your all and see what happens. Yes, ma'am.
A lot of our friends are watching, but they also comment about Coco as well.
Oh, good. And she's one of my favorites too. I'm with you guys. Coco Gauff, did you see? I think it was in doubles play, but they clocked her at a serve at 100 and over 125 miles an hour. That kid, that young woman, 18 years old, the world is her stage. It is her oyster. She really, I am so excited. Thank you, Dora. Thank you, Dora Levette Tiggs, standing here with you all along with me. I appreciate that. But I love Coco Gauff, and I love the future that she has. But she got one mean serve, 120. It was like 128 miles an hour. They clocked her at. That's awesome. Coco, you're going to go a long way. And I love her love for Venus and Serena. Yes, Yolanda. I think their mother maybe. So Dora, thank you for that. Because I wondered about that too. Because she didn't look good Monday. And then last night she was really like, this. And so I was wondering if maybe she wasn't feeling well at all, because even in responding to other people, Billie Jean King was trying to talk to her and schmooze her, and that wasn't going over well. So I think maybe you're right, Dora. But it did not look good. And so I don't want to, I respect the hell out of this woman. So I don't want to disrespect her by, joking about, her taking a nap or something. But it was just very interesting, and a little disconcerting. I think finally the cameraman got the message, and they didn't keep going back to her. Although Tiger and Venus were right next to her and in the family box. So we'll see what happens. And I pray that she isn't. Before I go, Mr. Richard Williams is not well, Barbara Ferguson. According to the reports, he has some health challenges as well. And Barbara Ferguson on YouTube asking, where's Richard? King Richard is apparently not well. And so that's why he was unable to make it. But those who did were misidentified. Did you see this? About the camera went to Dionne Warwick, and the two commentators, Mary Carrillo and Chandra, said, Mary Carrillo initiated and said, "Oh, look," seeing Dionne Warwick, "it's Gladys Knight." And Chandra Rubin said, "Oh, Gladys Knight." And so what she said in the follow-up, because she got a lot of static, and I knew the voice, and I knew this was a Black woman who should know that this was not so Dionne Warwick and Gladys Knight are icons, but you don't mistake them, especially in our community. So she said that what she saw on the camera, on her camera screen, was not what the camera was showing to the public. And so she said she knows the difference between the great. And they were pretty good about, in response to that, saying, we understand. Dionne said, you all may not know about getting on that late night train to Georgia, and I'm just going to keep on walking by when people make mistakes like that. But they were good sports about it. And Chandra Rubin was very apologetic. But still, once again, we don't get it. And this is thank you, Shirley and Tony Davis. I thank you for all your support, watching the show, and viewing the subscribing to the daily newsletter. Don't leave before this. This is, and I'm not sure where this story is going to go, but it just came out. Tiffany Haddish and Arie Spears have been sued, and they've been accused of grooming and molesting a child. Tiffany and her attorney are calling it a shakedown. But they have, according to the charges, or at least the lawsuit, I should say, according to the lawsuit, Tiffany Haddish and Arie Spears groomed a 14-year-old girl and her 7-year-old brother, coercing them to film explicit skits. This, according to the lawsuit. And these are the siblings who go by the names of Jane Doe and John Doe, claim they've been traumatized for life as a result of allegedly being groomed when they were children. The boy also claims to have been molested by the defendants. Tiffany Haddish's attorney and Tiffany say that it's nothing but a shakedown, years in the making. And TMZ said the older sister said she was 14 when Tiffany gained her trust, convinced her to film a sexually suggestive video, and teaching her how to mimic certain sex acts in the skit. But let us hope that I just hope that it's not true, and that it is a shakedown and they can get through this. Absolutely. All right. So now let's move to entertainment, and I am going to, and you're absolutely right, Yolanda, I got a lot of words. I know. I do want to end this with, because I always want to keep attention.
Yes, you do, sweetheart.
I want to keep the attention on Buffalo and what happened. And I want to give kudos to this Buffalo football star who loved the kids. His name is Stephon Diggs, and helping out kids in Buffalo, the team that he plays for, as they begin to go back to school. And he was there to hand out backpacks and gift cards at the site of the shooting at the Tops grocery store. And so they handed out 300 Nike gift cards, 300 Nike backpacks filled with school supplies. And they were also there to talk to the people and encourage them, as the Buffalo Bills team has been doing, and others. And they've stepped up in a major way. And the team has known for devoting the time, energy, and resources to restoring this community. And lastly, Russell Wilson, good on you. He just signed a massive 9-figure contract extension. He just got there with the Denver Broncos, but he was on his other contract. He has agreed to a 5-year, $245 million extension that includes $165 million guaranteed. Sierra, Russell, live your lives. Good for you. And they too are greatly involved in their new community, as they were in Seattle, in Denver as well. All right. So thanks, you guys, for everyone, ladies, gentlemen, and all those in between. Thank you for joining us here today, closing out with Yogi's Jewel, our daily inspiration. And we're going to talk about this because we don't talk about what the laws of detachment are, but we will, I promise. But this is a part of the inspiration. Consider practicing the laws of detachment by accepting that uncertainty is a reality. Uncertainty is a reality. I didn't know what to expect when I started out with this a few minutes ago, but here we are. Thanks for all your support, the questions, and we appreciate you all more than you know. Dora Levette takes good show tonight, as always. Thank you, darling. On Facebook and YouTube, all the folks watching us, and please, we appreciate you, and we appreciate the value of your time. Thanks, everybody.